Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a copy of Silver and Gold. It's a flip and write game by NSV, later brought to the US by Padasaurus Games. So let's get right into it. First off, I have a copy by NSV. Yours might look a little bit different, published by Padasaurus Games, but it's the same great game. I also need to mention that I was first introduced to this game by Andy, our founder here at Meeple Mountain. Everyone say hi, Andy. Anyways, each player will take a marker and a score pad. 47 treasure cards are shuffled together, and 4 are dealt out to each player. Out of those 4, each player will select 2 to start with, discarding the other 2. There is a round card placed in the middle of the table, and the game is played over 4 rounds. And this card also lists all the possible shapes that will show up on the expedition cards. Now, 4 random treasure cards are flipped over for all to see, and when a player finishes one of their own treasure cards, they can choose one of these treasure cards to claim and to later work on. There will always be 4 displayed treasure cards, so when one is taken, a new one replaces it. There are 8 expedition cards, all with a specific shape, and they are shuffled and placed in a face-down pile. So to begin the game, the top expedition card is flipped over. This card applies to all players, and everyone will cross off boxes on one of their 2 treasure cards matching the pattern of what's on that expedition card. 7 of the 8 cards will be revealed each round, and all those boxes are crossed out accordingly. So 4 rounds with 7 of the 8 expedition cards will form the entire game. Whoever has the most points after the 4th round wins. So again, the active player will flip over the top expedition card. All players cross off the boxes on any one of their 2 treasure cards according to the pattern shown. This pattern can be rotated 90 or 180 degrees or also mirrored, but besides those options, it needs to be left unchanged and complete. Each box on your treasure card can only be crossed off once, so no double dipping. If a player cannot or does not want to use the revealed expedition card, they can instead cross off just one of any box on any of their 2 treasure cards. You must cross off a box in a round. As players cross off boxes, they will cross off different symbols, which will trigger additional bonuses of some sort. So this red X will cause that player to cross off one additional empty box that is on any of their 2 treasure cards. The coin will cause that player to cross off the next empty coin box on their score pad, starting from the left box and the top row. Once the first row is complete, going left to right, the second row is then started. Once a coin row is completed, that player gets points for the cup that matches up with it. The points awarded is determined by how fast you fill in your row compared to all other players. So when a row is finished, you will cross off the cup on the round card that shows the highest number at that moment. You will write in this number, and that's how many points that you score for completing that row. This will force you to either hurry up and finish a row before another player does, or you can kind of push it back because you don't think that anyone else will. A palm tree, when crossed off, will immediately score you points. You score 1 point for the crossed off tree, plus 1 point for each palm tree that can be seen on the displayed out treasure cards at that time. So when the 4 cards have lots of trees, that might be a good time for you to cross off a palm tree. Each time a player fills in one of their 3 rows of coins, or when a player completes one of their treasure cards, they will need to announce this to the table. If during a round 2 players complete a coin row, it will go in turn order as to who scores the cup with the most points before the other player does. Once a treasure card is completely filled up, they will place it next to them, visible for all players still to see until the end of the game, and they will then take a new treasure card as a replacement, either one of the 4 displayed out cards or the top face-down card of that deck. Each player should always have 2 treasure cards at all times. The game continues with the next player flipping the next expedition card and following the order of play. Again, 4 rounds using 7 of the 8 expedition cards. Points are added up at the end of the game. Each crossed off coin box on the scorecard is worth a point. Each cup earns as many points as the number on it. The numbers in the palm tree boxes are added up. Each completely finished treasure card scores as many points indicated on the top left And seals on completed cards will earn 1 or 2 extra points for each separate completely filled treasure card of that color. If a player has several seals, each will score accordingly. The player then with the most points wins the game. This is such an amazing flip and write game. It's crazy how a small deck of cards like this and a marker can have such a great game packed into it. I mean, the game has already had lots of success, and probably for good reason. I like that the game isn't too complicated, so it is very accessible for anyone and everyone to play. It can be played and enjoyed by those who just casually play, but for those who also like a little more strategy. They can play the same game at the same time and still enjoy it, both of them, and it's just fun for anyone, however you are, really. The game is fairly quick. It's straight 4 rounds every time you play, so each time it will take about the same amount of time. It's a very inexpensive game, which everyone can appreciate and like. It's kind of has that Tetris hybrid type game that has become popular in the last, 5-10 years or so. And there is enough added bonus icons while playing the games to give it an added strategy. But it also breaks up the game so you're not just filling in boxes from the cards that are flipped out each time. The components are great, and the cards will last enough to keep marking on them over and over again. But this is one of my go-to games for new people that either have never played it because they need to play this, but also for non-gamers as it's straightforward, fast, and fun. So find treasure by crossing off boxes with your family and friends in Silver and Gold by NSV, and again, by Padasaurus Games here in the US.
Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.